In today's business and financial news, let's discuss the cost of a courthouse wedding, both the emotional cost and the financial cost. Do you ever wonder if people who have courthouse weddings feel some type of way that they did not experience a traditional wedding? We know someone in the comments will say, well, I know someone who's been married 30 years from a courthouse wedding, and someone else who got divorced 90 days after a traditional wedding. To which we would remind you that the length of a marriage means very little. Lots of people are still married after 30 years who should have called it quits after 30 days. Some of y'all are suckers for punishment, while others are stuck due to religious obligations. But really, what would we know? We're just a YouTube channel trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so please subscribe. But back to our topic. According to our very brief online research, a courthouse wedding in the US will cost you very little, likely under $500, while a traditional wedding in the US averages approximately $30,000.
If you had any doubt about having a courthouse wedding, go for it. My wedding cost me $54 flat. $54 wedding and a dope ass honeymoon. My honeymoons costed me about $20,000. So we spent about $16,000 for the property. We're there for a week. And then about $2,300 for flights. And then prepping all the things that we needed, for vacation, haircuts, hair, nails, lashes, all the things. And then clothing and all of that. But let me just say, it feels really good knowing that we are going to have an intimate moment, an intimate vacation, just me and him, versus spending all that money on a freaking wedding for everyone else to enjoy themselves. Not saying yourself is not going to enjoy, but it's more or less a party for them. Don't be afraid to have that courthouse wedding.
On the low end, concerning a courthouse wedding, you should expect to pay a couple $100s for a courthouse wedding. But additions such as expensive attire, skilled wedding photographers, and external officiants may drive up the cost.
You're getting married at the most basic baseline level, how much it costs. I'm gonna tell you, I'm a Target girl with a Walmart budget right now. So what we had to do is order stuff from Amazon because we had to make sure all our bills was covered and paid. And then we can go shop for what we needed to. Well, the Amazon receipt, insert here, is $275, which is kinda, With that included my stuff, which is my dress shoes, little play veil, rhinestones, and like pearl accessories. And with him, it covered his blazer jacket and some shoes. All that for $275. Then on top of that, we had to schedule an appointment with the courthouse, which I did, and that appointment is $160. Cash only on the day of our appointment. Not to mention, before you actually get married, you have to have your marriage license, which is $90 or 88 and some change in the state of Kansas. Luckily, I work in the hospitality business now, so my rates for hotels are chef's kiss. So we got a hotel room for like $65 that night, and we also wanted to go out to eat. Still didn't pick a place because we still got to budget that out too. As a little girl, I did not think I would just get eloped and kumbaya the rest of my way. But looking at these numbers, that's the best option for me, and I'm okay with that. We're having a ceremony 3 years later, and I am okay with that. This month should just get baseline married. See, girl, things you would do for these special occasions: nails, toes, photographer. I'm getting none of that done. An elopement photographer that I found, cheapest one was $300. And nails and toes, that's gonna run a good 100, 150, depends on what you get. We just don't have it. But I love my man. We can be two ants getting married under a rock, and I would be just as happy with him.
While each type of wedding, courthouse versus traditional, has its benefits, each also has its regrets. One of the leading regrets of a courthouse wedding is that it isn't a quote-unquote real wedding. Some women especially have complained that they never got a real wedding if they settled for a courthouse wedding. Please don't shoot the messenger, we're just reporting the news. Also, it seems like some women settle for a courthouse wedding with the promise that a traditional wedding will follow. And many times that traditional wedding just doesn't happen.
I got married at City Hall in 2010, and it was because my husband was leaving for deployment. We had a handful of days to plan a wedding, and I looked online trying to find vendors, could not find them, so it was either City Hall or go to Vegas. We could not afford to hop on the plane and go to Vegas, so guess what? It was City Hall. So over the years, I kept trying to plan a wedding. It wasn't coming together. We had 2 sons back to back, and now we're like strapped for cash. And I'm still trying to have a wedding because I'm like, I want to have my moment. I didn't get to have a bridal shower, bachelorette party, engagement party, none of those things, right? Now we got these 2 small kids paying for daycare. And it's like, girl, why are you still talking about a wedding when you have real life adult responsibilities and you're already married? Get over it. Which led me to start Just Elope. Well, I'm like, okay, I still want to have my turn, right? So we decide for our 10-year anniversary that we're going to go to Mexico so that we can have a vow renewal. We started inviting our friends, people getting tickets, so on and so forth. What is 10 years after 2010? 2020, COVID, right? COVID hits, boom, you ain't having nothing. You ain't having a vow renewal. Sit down. So that went out the window. Now here we are. It's 2024. We've been married for 14 years. And y'all, I've given up. Like, it's not a thing for me.
On the other hand, a regret of a traditional wedding is often related to the cost of the wedding. The wedding costs go over budget, and the couple may still be paying off the wedding by the time that they're also divorcing. Let's turn to Reddit and TikTok for additional perspectives. Some of the Reddit comments are from this 2024 AMM.com article that's entitled, "These Couples Regret Their Courthouse Wedding, and Here's Why." Don't worry, we've mixed in regrets as well as benefits so that we get a more full and balanced picture when it comes to a courthouse wedding.
Go to the courthouse and get married. Enjoy being married. See if you actually like being married to your spouse. And if you do, and you make it to that 10-year mark, save up and then have your big wedding. So I'm seeing so much talk on here about courthouse weddings, and it makes me so happy because people talk so bad about courthouse weddings. I just don't get it, but let's talk about it. So my husband and I, we've been married for 11 years this year, but last year we celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary by having our vow renewal / wedding finally. So then finally that 9-year mark comes. We were a lot better off financially, thank God, and we said, okay, we're actually gonna do this. And we did it, and it was one of the best days of my life.
Concerning a courthouse wedding, I regret it and do not recommend it. My marriage ended in divorce, and I feel like saying the vows rushed in a courthouse did not help. It felt casual and impersonal. I think the vows need to feel very important.
We about to go down to the courthouse and get married. Next year we have the big wedding.
I'm going to a courthouse to get married.
We are.
I'm not going to no courthouse to get married.
Why not?
That right now.
We're trying to save money right now.
I'm saving money. I have worked too hard for this. And
We'll
I'm
have
going
the-
down the street to get married. Are you crazy?
You're overreacting. We'll
I'm
have the
not
big
overreacting.
wedding next
I'm
year.
not paying $20 to get married. I'm not doing that.
But you still have a ring.
I'm capable of doing that, but me, that's not how I envision myself getting married. And I'm not going to stand in front of a judge to say, hey, you married. Like, no, that's not what I wanted. I want my friends and family to be there.
But you still have a ring at the end of the
I
day.
don't care about a ring. Make that make sense. You got to get somebody else to do it, because I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Why are you being so difficult?
How am I being so difficult? How?
Because you won't go down to the courthouse and just get married, and we'll have the big wedding next year when we have more money.
You can have a courthouse wedding with somebody else, but I have worked and saved my money up enough for me to go give me a real wedding. I'm not doing that. So you can get somebody else to do it, because I ain't gonna be the one to be there.
Okay.
I have a dysfunctional family, but succumbed to pressure and had a wedding. Granted, smaller than traditionally expected, but still a wedding nonetheless. My parents made the whole thing about them, and now we are estranged. It sounds cliche, but do what makes you and your future partner happy, and what feels right for you as a couple. I wish I had done that. Spending on a honeymoon sounds like a great way to go. Only tip I would give is to encourage a photographer. The photos are worth it. In a perfect world, we'd have had a small, intimate wedding, a wedding where our desires were respected and delighted in, and it wouldn't have cost an arm and a leg. However, in this world, my mom would have been a controlling, judgmental a-hole, which she was, which is why she wasn't invited to the courthouse. Good for you. Neither of our families would have been okay with the 20-ish people wedding we wanted, and since we live somewhere expensive, the only way to make it friendly to our budget was either to drive a long way each way, which I wouldn't have wanted, or hotel/Airbnb stay in the county. Plus, I've had some of the worst health problems of my life when I got married. I was both the highest weight I'd ever been and puffy. It's honestly kind of painful to look at the photos because it doesn't even look like me. So we did the courthouse with half a dozen close friends and no family, and it was truly the best thing we could have done with what we had to work with. My husband and I did a courthouse wedding. We're both introverts, didn't want to plan a huge event, and have dysfunctional families. It was lovely. We were married by the Justice of the Peace and then had some pictures taken around the river and some monuments downtown in our city. We booked out a small restaurant and we had a lovely big dinner with a group of 20 close friends and family. Lots of good food, laughter, and wine, and it was all done by 10:30 p.m. so we could go home and sleep. I have no regrets. It was perfect. My only gripe is that a few older relatives kept asking us when we were having our real wedding. That has stopped now. It just took a bit of explanation. Courthouse regrets, yes and no. I like the no-frills simplicity of it, plus the money-saving factor. We were living in a city far from our families, mine on the opposite coast and his in another country. We were legally required to have a witness. Neither of us had friends, so I asked a coworker. I wish I had had a reception when I went back to my parents' house. Just something simple like going out to dinner and having a toast to acknowledge the wedding. Courthouse weddings can be cute. Get some cute outfits and flowers that suit your personality, get a good photographer, book a luxury or unique hotel room or Airbnb for 1 or 2 nights to celebrate. I used to work at the bar near the courthouse, and there were always small groups that would order a few bottles of champagne and dance around for a few hours with close friends. Spent no more than $500 to $2,000. But if you don't like dancing, just do a cute brunch or picnic with the people you love. Or elope and send everyone the pictures. Basically, do whatever suits you guys best. The day is yours. We did, and no regrets. We didn't invite anyone. A stranger at the courthouse served as our witness. We only took one picture, didn't bother to dress up. We'd both been married before and had done the wedding thing. Not doing it a second time wasn't a question of cost. When we thought about a wedding, it just felt like an exhausting, months-long project that we didn't want to plan. We love going to other people's weddings, and our friends and families are generally functional and very supportive, but marriage felt like a deeply personal and somewhat private commitment to us. All the pageantry and the performance aspect of a wedding just didn't jive with how we viewed our marriage. We're both extroverts and quite social people, so it surprised some of our friends, but it was the right choice for us. Been married twice. Did the whole shebang the first time. Did the courthouse the second time. And the courthouse wins. It was so relaxed and easy and fun, and just about us and the commitment we were making and our love. We didn't have to worry about guests and food and who sat next to who and entertaining. We just got to celebrate our love with the people closest to us, which was even smaller because COVID restrictions were in place, which was actually awesome for us. We didn't even take the full day off work, and it was the best day ever. I love how intimate it was. I love how chill it was. I loved everything about it. No regrets whatsoever, even though I still have a few friends and family mad that they weren't there for the event. We shocked a lot of people with it, but it was amazing. All right, now let's look at a few comments from the article. These couples regret their courthouse wedding, and here's why. So one reason is sacrifice the ceremony and low-key regrets it. Most people who choose this don't regret it being the courthouse wedding. But I've always wanted a wedding ceremony with a reception. Nothing insane, but I've dreamed about it since I was little. When my ex-husband proposed and was like, let's plan the wedding, I was so excited. And then he changed his mind. The old bait and switch. It's long and complicated, but I finally broke down and agreed to a courthouse wedding. I was always low-key disappointed. The next one is unceremonious, sterile, embarrassed, and sad. So this is what the person says. Yes, I regret the courthouse wedding. I wish I at least had hair and makeup pictures. We have nothing but a few selfies. It took but 5 minutes. It was unceremonious, sterile, and unemotional. Couples shuffled through like an assembly line. Not how I ever pictured making that level of commitment. I'm not sure how many times I've been asked about how/where we got married, but it has been far too many times. How does this question keep coming up? I feel a rush of embarrassment when I have to lie about it. No one wants to listen to anyone say remembering the day makes them sad, so you'll never hear my real feelings and true story in real life. Oh, I wonder what story this person tells them. What do you tell them? They ask how and where you got married. Maybe he or she just says, we got married in the courthouse, but they don't mention their regret. Or maybe they make up a whole different tale. The next one is no celebration, no family. My first wedding was at the courthouse. My ex was military, and we got married when he had a weekday off. No family, no celebration, no honeymoon. I did regret not having my family and a celebration. And it sounds like they are not together anymore because she said her ex. And then this final one, missed having the perfect wedding dress. I saved a ton of money, and I'm not in debt over a wedding. So they saved a ton of money because they did the courthouse wedding. But I would have liked a pretty dress and to have had the opportunity to look quote unquote perfect.
If I could think of one thing that I regret not doing for my wedding or throughout my wedding process, it definitely would have to be that I did not keep God in the center of everything. It was very easy for me to get caught up in wedding trends and things that I couldn't do, or things that I wanted that I couldn't afford. And it definitely caused for me to not put God in the center of those things. And also it just didn't allow for me to focus on the main point, which was that I was marrying the person who God intended for me to be with. I think if I would have kept him more in the center of my process, things would have been a lot easier, but also I would have been a lot more intentional throughout it.
Did you have a courthouse wedding? Years later, do you have any regret? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for listening. See you soon.